Taking Silostra on foot, in quotations, because of course she is not actually touching the ground, is certainly a risky play in general, but against the Tomb Kings, especially right now, given that most people are not taking any Lore of Nehek casters, and basically that means you take Arcana Black as your Lord, and so a Spirit Leech will be a thing, although initially a long-range Spirit Leech is going to be used to chip away at one of these Carronades. Silostra coming in here. Raced is the submitter of this replay. And yeah, he's got a cannon here, just a nice, tasteful single cannon. A couple of depth guard. Yeah, one of them is the Bloody Reavers, the other is regular depth guard. We've also got a single Cyrene here. Of course, Silostra herself with the Charmed and Armor Piercing, and being ethereal, she's got very low HP, but high physical resistance. Zombies up front, of course. Zombie pistols right behind, and then some bombers up in the sky. The Vanguard force from Tretch here, ODM Tretch, who is confusingly playing Arcan. We got some Carrion swooping in from behind immediately, and some Skeleton Horsemen as well. More Carrion on the initial advance force. 4 Ushabti Greatbows, which is certainly risky, but also can be quite strong. Basically, if the Vampire Coast invest too heavily into cannons and other long-range missiles, the Ushabti Greatbows will likely just lose that shootout, although certainly with these mobile, kind of flying, threatening forces, that does help equalize that fight a bit, as some Carrion swoop immediately onto the Carronades. The rest of the army, we've got Kepler Guard, which do have magic attacks and anti-infantry. Silostra will definitely want to stay away from them. Of course, Arcan Spirit Leech is also going to be quite dangerous here. Skeleton Spears scattered around some Skeleton Warriors, and that's pretty much it. So let's get back to the Carronades. We're being crumbled away by the Carrions. Carrions versus Carronades. Of course, Carrions are going to win that every single time and be able to take that unit out as a result. The Vampire Coast is likely to be forced to advance here, although it looks like the Tomb Kings are doing the nice thing and just advancing anyway, rather than trying to kite a bit with those Ushabti Greatbows. Right now, they are shooting, looks like they just switched onto the Depth Guard, which is definitely a great call. One of the more expensive units on the field, certainly. And Spirit Leeches at this point should pretty much all go to Silostra. Again, not the craziest, smallest amount of HP. I guess they would have buffed it when they actually lowered her physical resistance with some of the changes to Ethereals, but one thing in particular that could be quite strong here is, of course, the Damned Knights Errant. Yes, the Ghosts of the Past summons a unit of Damned Knights Errant that do have, due to the Ethereal changes, 100% armor piercing damage and also Frostbite. Will make them an ideal counter for the Ushabti Greatbows should they be able to bypass the front line in the back line of the Vampire Coast. They've got these pistol mobs advancing. They can fire while advancing up through this space. Animated Hulks and Bloody Reavers overextending pretty far to take out those Skeleton Horsemen, but that's fine. Another Spirit Leech there. Again, a little bit mistargeted perhaps. Is going to finish off the bombers in the sky, but really should be probably firing at Silostra. Also, given Silostra's just low overall HP, I mean, the Ushabti Greatbows focus firing on her is also not the worst idea in the world. Even though she is a relatively small target, she's certainly an important one, and is going to be able to get some nice damage. Let's watch for that Vangeist's Revenge, which she is rocking, along with the Denizens of the Deep and Tide Call. Looks like the Zombie Pistol is going to be falling back somewhat, kind of drawing some of those skeletons out of position. Deckhands just watching life go by. Syrenes and Depth Guard ready to advance as well, kind of hiding in the trees there. Animated Hulks hanging back for the time being. So it's just kind of a slow push from both sides, kind of to be expected, undead versus undead especially. But it is what it is. Syrene's getting into combat over on this side. Silostra trying to find a good position. And there's not really a lot of units for the Carrions to go after. I mean, I guess they could try and just dive the pistol mobs here, which is probably the best call. Looks like they're going to do just that. Skeleton Horsemen also trying to find a home here, but there you go. Got the Damned Knights Errant summoned up on the field. Ghostly Knights of Bretonnia will get in here and get the job done. While their DPS isn't crazy high, I mean, certainly with 54 charge bonus, 30 armor piercing damage, frostbite as well. The Ushabti Greatbows will not be able to get away. They're going to be frostbitten down to 38 speed and taking armor piercing damage. The Overrun also manages to even catch the Chosen of the Gods here, which is pretty nice. Unfortunately, the Depth Guard not getting micro, just getting a little bit forgotten about. It is hard to keep track of everything in a big battlefield like this. Song of Enthrallment, also from Silostra, help even out the fight between the Charmed and the Song of Enthrallment. Those, yeah, no question, those Skeleton Warriors going to be 0 melee attack. More summons coming through. Rotting Prometheans from Silostra. Again, going to be able to pressure these shop teams. These guys are slow enough, 45 speed, that without the Frostbite, I'm not sure they're going to be able to catch the Ushabtis if they stay on top of their micro, but it does look like just a momentary slip allows perhaps the crabs to make contact. Maybe not. Maybe the Ushabti will actually be able to effectively get away there, but at the very least, you're forcing them out of position, forcing them to react to you. Nice Spirit Leech on Silostra, though. Probably should have been seeing those a little bit earlier on, but it is what it is. The Kepler Guard do manage to catch some Sirens here, which proves to be a disaster for the Sirens, of course, that magic damage, but oh, here we go. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is the exact target you would want to use this on. Vangeist's Revenge, just ethereal cannonballs cleave through the entire unit, and they immediately crumble. Literally, the entire unit gets one-shotted there, so that's very impressive. That is a significant amount of... I mean, that's 1,000 damage value right there, just straight up on one spell, which is pretty crazy. Silostra getting some really, really nice value back there as well, and in terms of the Damn Knight Terran summon, they also got probably about 1,000 damage value, more or less just taking out one Ushabti Greatbow straight up, so pretty good stuff there. Animated Hulks advancing. Double Animated Hulks ready to get into position. There's mostly just Skeleton Warriors left at this point, besides Arkan himself. I mean, I say that. There are still a couple of Ushabti Greatbows units left, so I completely take that back 100%. Sirens, of course, they have Charmed instead of Frostbite, so they're going to be lowering the melee attack of Arkan the Black here, but they will not be able to lower his speed, like something like, say, Canraints that could debuff his speed and lock him into this combat. He will be able to get away if he wants to. But in the meantime, Bloody Reaver Depth Guard advancing. They're also going to be a tough unit for Tomb Kings to crack. They're going to have to dedicate their missile focus fire to finishing them and the Animated Hulks off. Honestly, the Hulks are less of a danger. They can die to the Skeleton Spears, to be honest. But the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard are definitely very dangerous. They immediately crush those skeletons. And trying to get into a position here to try and advance. I mean, I say that. They're undead versus undead, which is, you know, you end up getting some micro slips as units disintegrate, units stand idly for a moment. Another beautiful Vangeist's Revenge, though. Wide area of effect. It doesn't appear to hit those skeletons, but in fact, it does hit those skeletons and just immediately eviscerates the entire unit. There you go. Balance power still relatively close, but Vampire Coast definitely has a lot going for them at the moment. Tomb King is going to use their Ushabti summon now, perhaps to try and all in on these Bloody Reavers. The Chosen of the Gods have used up all of their ammunition, so they're now forced to fight in melee with spear support, with carrion support, and I would imagine with the summoned Ushabti as well, they're just going to try and outnumber these Bloody Reavers significantly. Of course, they do still have a handful of Animated Hulks still holding out, and some more crabs being summoned as well from Silostra as she gets ready to kick the can. Another Spirit Leech should send her back to the Shadow Realm, or to the Ethereal Plane, or whatever you want to call it, wherever Silostra, you know, reanimated from. As she gets a few more splash attacks on those poor bony boys there. Nice Song of Enthrallment to debuff the melee attack, again down to 0 melee attack. Song of Enthrallment and Charmed stacked on top of each other. Ushabti Greatbows try and come forward and disrupt those pistol mobs as well, but end up taking a lot of damage in the process and getting finished off by Animated Hulks. There are quite a few pistol mobs still alive as well. Their leadership is also good enough to contribute. Looks like the summoned Ushabti had to be deployed against the summoned Rotting Prometheans, which is fine. It's actually fine for Vampire Coast. Uses up a lot of the uptime of those Ushabti there. And still able to get a little bit of damage on those Greatbows, and at the very least force them out of position, although it does look like they're in a position to keep firing from there. Going to finish off that unit of Animated Hulks. Bloody Reavers have definitely taken some damage, so we'll see. Some Ushabti do fall there, so both sides have exhausted all of their extra units. Bring to the fight only what's left on the field I guess Arcan technically can summon some more skeletons, but let's ignore that for now. Watch as these pistol mobs get ready to clash. Desperately firing their one-hand cannons into the faces of the Ushabti. Bracing for impact as best as a zombie, a flimsy, wet bag of meat like these guys are. Best as they can brace. There you go. Not actually too much charge damage there, but a decent amount. The halberds collapsing from the back will help win this fight, though. Anti-large AP and generally very high model count will help these guys prevail. 13 bonus versus the large is definitely pretty significant. Puts them up to 40 weapon strength, which is just insane for a unit of this price and sort of low status, right? Still only 27 attack against those Ushabti, but, I mean, 36 defense. Especially with the high model count getting surrounds, they're able to sort of effectively increase that by getting into the rear arcs of some of those unit models. Bloody Reavers also standing firm. They're going to pop their damage resistance buff. The Enrage, move into combat. Another Spirit Leech going to be used against them. I guess it's something, right? They're going to resist quite a bit of that damage and manage to choose some HP off of those Ushabti Greatbows. But if Arcan's going to offer himself up, certainly he can be a willing sacrifice to whatever gods. I was going to say Mathlon, but that just feels wrong somehow to say that the Vampire Coast would follow like the god of the Sea of N? I don't know. Anyway, oof, that skeleton summon just destroys my frame rate. As Arcan calls in some help, better late than never, I suppose. He is going to also pop that Liber Mortis, give himself some significant physical resistance, not enough to save him as he falls to the Bloody Reavers, and let's see if they're going to be able to hold out against that horde of skeletons. One of their biggest weaknesses is just getting significantly outnumbered, and here we see them doing just that. The Ushabtis are able to work in combination with the skeletons to much more effectively combat these Bloody Reavers, but let's see how they get on. Looks like they're going to be forced into crumbling, perhaps. Very dangerous situation for the Vampire Coast. They're sort of teetering on the edge of leadership, but likewise, the Tomb Kings also. I mean, without this summoned skeleton, they probably would have lost already, so it's going to be super, super tight, guys, on this finish. Bloody Reavers desperately attempting to get away from the horde of skeletons, get into a position to get some support. Pistol mobs trying to get to a position to use the rest of their ammunition. Deckhand polearms could move to try and intercept those Ushabti, but it's anyone's game at this point. Certainly going to be a very bloody result, no doubt, either way, but there you go. Halberds moving into combat. The summoned skeletons finally drop, allowing the Bloody Reavers to pop that Enrage, get a nice little rear charge into those skeleton spears. Is it going to be enough to bail out those deckhand mobs? We'll see. Vampire Coast barely holding their leadership together, but some really nice damage from those deckhand polearms on those Ushabti Greatbows, and a handful more pistol shots as well. And suddenly the Tomb Kings, all they've got left really are these Ushabti. The Greatbows, of course, long since out of ammunition, just having to fight in melee. Bloody Reavers aren't necessarily going to be a great target for them to go after. The longer they're in melee, they'll get that hunger trait to replenish their HP. They also, weapon strength is significant. 44 weapon strength, 28 bonus versus large. Can dish out a huge amount of damage against those Ushabti Greatbows, but, I mean, what choice did they have at the end of the day? Except to dive on the unit that's most dangerous to them directly. Well, here's the other choice. Screen them out with some skeleton spears who are already crumbling anyway, just to kind of speed their passing. Again, even though the skeleton spears, this might seem like a good idea, the skeleton spears ultimately are just going to allow the Bloody Reavers to regenerate some more HP by staying in melee with a unit that is unlikely to hurt them at all in combat. But certainly we'll see. It's going to come down to the absolute wire. Will the Bloody Reavers be able to hold their leadership against the tide of Tomb Kings? Yep, skeletons drop. Looks like the Ushabti drop, and there it is. Kind of an anticlimactic end. There you go. In terms of all the undead just fall over. But that's it. I mean, that's undead versus undead for you. Illustra getting some huge value back. Bloody Reavers also. Great job at the end there. Carrying out, clutching the late game. The rest of the army really struggles in terms of value. I mean, a handful of polearms like 120 kills, 115 kills, very impressive. Value damage-wise is not the craziest thing, but pistols generally very cost-effective here as well. Interesting to see the Sushabti Great Bow, kind of classic quad build. Didn't all pay out at the end of the day. I guess quite a bit of the value that we're not seeing here is probably on those damn Knights Errant. I would guess they probably got about 900 to 1,000 damage value. So you kind of add that onto Silostra, and suddenly she looks quite good, especially considering her cheap cost on foot. Kepler Guard struggled a little bit there, although they got one initial really good engagement, just getting blasted by Vangeist's Revenge. Very satisfying, I have to say, and yeah, I mean, all undead probably deserve that, even the Vampire Coast. So I'll end on that note. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.